When I hear RZA and I hear Quentin Tarantino coming together, collaborating to make a movie, one thing I am going to do is go watch it. One Spoon of Chocolate, checked it out this week. This was release week. Super excited from the first time. And let me say this, I like the way that they released some of the content because I was seeing a lot of the clips and I was thinking these scenes were from a movie that was already out. So it's like, well, naturally on TikTok, it's like, where can I find a movie? Where can I watch the movie? And then, discovered like, oh, okay, this is coming out in a couple weeks. So, boom, lock in. Let's go see it. RJ Cyler, Shamik Moore, Paris Jackson. Shout out to Rotman Dunbar. He was on the Soul Food TV series a while back, so he was a familiar face. And Blair Underwood was an absolute beast in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? Is one of them guys, if you ever saw Posse or movies like Set It Off, he was that guy. And man, Black don't crack. Let's talk about the movie. So first off, I want to let y'all know I was very excited about this movie. So I went in with a level of elevated expectation. And I noticed that whenever I go into movies with elevated expectations, for the most part, almost always have the letdown. So in a way, this one was bittersweet. It was a good movie, but if I was going to rate it, I would give it something in the sixes. It'd be, a mid to high six. It had all of the elements that I wanted to see. The concept, theme, the angle of it, I think was a really good idea. I just don't think the execution was great. There was a lot of things I would have done different. The movie starts with Shamik Moore's character, which I want to give a shout out to Shamik Moore. The acting in this project was solid. Shamik Moore, I got to put a picture of him next to John David Washington because in this film in particular, this is one of the first movies where you kind of seen him as a real, like a mature man acting. You've seen him in Dope and other movies when he was more of a teenager. The voice of Miles Morales, he's kind of portraying a kid. This is one of the first movies I saw where he was like portraying a real man. A lot of John David Washington energy. Like, it was almost like me watching a movie like Tenet. Almost all of John David Washington's films theatrically have been similar to where he's kind of a well-traveled combat artist, you know what I'm saying? So this was no different. This is immediately when I see him on screen, when they bring him in, I'm thinking John David Washington. And he executed. He had the ODB look, early 90s New York look, Tim's 8-ball jacket. They didn't really put a time frame, a time period on the movie. I mean, so looking at it, I would say that it was modern, but it did have elements that were a little obscure, like the cousin drove a Buick Roadmaster 95 model. I used to have the same car. And then one of the guys had drove a Charger, and then they had like a jacked up truck and some other vehicles that kind of made the time frame a little ambiguous. But he comes out of jail in New York and really only has an option or one place to go, and that's to a town called Cairnsville, Ohio, which in the film we discover is an extremely racist town, but yet it's like everybody kind of coexists and gets along within the construct of that town. Obviously, a white woman is good friends with a black character. The mother, who's a nurse who works for the doctor, who's in on the main theme. They are harvesting organs from young black athletes. One thing I didn't like seeing was RJ Cyler's character end up falling victim to that. I was hoping that they were going to go kind of in the direction of him coming to save his cousin the same way his cousin kind of saved him. Like, the movie really wasn't fulfilling as far as the arc of it. And that's one of my main issues with it. I would have liked to see more action. I know that Tarantino couldn't wait to get in a movie and write the N-word in the script a million times. As the youngsters would say, the movie is overly loaded with the N-word. I don't mind the racist undertones and that angle of the movie. I just didn't think there was enough get back. There wasn't balance on the get back, if that makes sense. Like, you got this guy, he goes there, his cousin dies. He gets angry, basically hides out and goes to get redemption, but he ain't really killing people. He's just beating people up. And then ultimately, they kind of made it seem like Blair Underwood's character was going to come save the day. He came and didn't really do anything. So there's a real lull in the movie. And they didn't do a lot of relationship building in relations to how his character coexisted with Paris Jackson's character. And shout out to Paris Jackson. I hadn't seen her in any other films. Solid. They didn't really give her much to really be compelling, but solid actress. I'll give her that. I want to say this. Paris Jackson got better chance of being biologically related to Andrew Jackson and Michael Jackson. I don't feel like there's any biological relationship there, but beautiful young lady nonetheless. An actress. Hopefully she goes on to continue to have success. There's kind of a period where he's in hiding and he's staying at her place. And that all culminates in them kind of sharing the bed while his arms wrapped around her, leaving with a kiss on the cheek. I'm not saying that I wanted them to have a really intimate relationship, but show some type of bond being built. They didn't really do that at all. And this movie all really takes place in the course of maybe a month. It starts really fast, and then there's a slow burn. And then that all culminates in the end piece. I like the concept of one spoon of chocolate can transform an entire glass of milk. I think that is a very innate thought in a lot of people's minds whenever it comes to like racism, bigotry, prejudice. I think that a lot of that is rooted in the fact that the black genetics can completely, I don't want to say wipe out, but they can completely alter a lineage. They can completely alter a family, a bloodline, a race of people by mixing. And I think that's something that some people subconsciously fear. Nonetheless, I like the angle. I like that they gave an explanation to that in the film. I just didn't like the execution of what the movie actually was. I would have liked to see more action. I would have liked to see more combat, more fight scenes, more thrill, more suspense. I did like the way it was shot. I think everybody, acting-wise, was phenomenal. Not phenomenal, but I thought everybody did a good job. Like, everybody performed strongly. I didn't like the overuse of the N-word. I'm going to go support the RZA and any other creative that I know is going to push the envelope. And I felt like that's exactly what they wanted to do with this film, is push the envelope. And they did it. There's some scenes in there that are pretty graphic. A lot of where they're getting beat with bats and different stuff like that. They are really like, you feel them. I would say don't let my rating of the movie discourage. I'm sitting in the sixes on it. There's so many things they could have added to make the movie better. But I think the foundation was a good foundation. I just wish they would have executed a little bit better. But big shout outs to the RZA. Shout out to Quentin Tarantino, Shamik Moore, Paris Jackson, and all the parties involved in the film. And go see it. If you've seen it, let me know where you disagree or agree. I love to have the conversation and discourse. But